Before we get to your scheduled video, please remember that likes and comments tell YouTube to promote our work to other people, and subscribing to the channel tells you when something new drops. You can also head to the link tree in the description to peruse my books, join us on Discord, or support us on Patreon. You can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling and Violent Profiles early, as well as a load of other treats. Even just $1 a month earns you a name drop for being cool. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations, Grimace, and exclusively Grimace. It is I, Eric J. Chucci, joined as always by legendary Japanese phenomenon, The Boy.
I'm not going to do a mean impression of any of the Japanese commentators, thanks.
You mean Kevin Kelly?
Or the little one.
Oh, I hated him. This is the Two Nerds Podcast. Today we're talking about All Elite Wrestling X NJPW Forbidden Door 2. But before we get into that, I've got to shill myself. I've done a big restructure at the Patreon. The dollar tier now gets you episodes of Journey of Wrestling a week early. And I would also like to remind you guys that we have a Discord where we talk about wrestling a lot. So if you like what we talk about here today on this podcast, head over there and join us. And you can be snarky about what's going on in the ring as well. And speculate and watch me be a dickbag. Also, I want to thank all of you guys who are actually listening to us as a podcast on YouTube. We do a lot of content that's a little more visual these days on the podcast, so that content doesn't make it onto the podcast section of YouTube. So if you like what you're listening to today and you want to hear us be goofy about nerdy stuff, maybe check out the actual channel and you'll find something you like. I think that's it.
Rob, a guy from Ohio, and Passion Killer 711 are cool.
Oh, good lord, there's a new guy. Hold on. Vamp.
Well, alright, so Webster's dictionary defines cool.
Keep going, this is great.
I didn't bring my phone! But you too.
It's my junk mail.
Can be cool for just $1. Like those previously mentioned names, and the name White is
Caleb Longren.
Caleb Longren.
Thanks
Caleb
for being
Longren.
cool, Caleb. I like your name, it's spelled with a K.
I also like your name, Caleb. I also like that your existence lets me refresh about a dozen old bits for this bit of the podcast. So thanks for that.
Yeah. You want to keep our podcast dynamic? Give me $1. So yeah, Forbidden Door. I'm going to go ahead and talk a lot right now because that's going to go down as this show goes on.
You go right ahead.
I don't care about NJPW. It's not like a malice thing. The way the rhythm of their matches is structured is not to my liking most of the time. There are absolutely exceptions. I've seen some NJPW matches that blew me away. I've seen some NJPW matches that put me to sleep. I also don't watch their content. So, any of their stars could just be random two Japanese names stuck together, and I would know. I wouldn't know it was a rib. The rib would be on me, like so much applesauce. So, I can't say I was enthusiastic going into this. I wasn't unenthusiastic. I know a lot of these guys. They do good work. It was probably going to be good action. But I like story in my wrestling. Like, it's like maybe 55-45, but it's more important to me than the wrestling. And if I don't have that story, or I don't understand that story because it's been told over the 10 years in another fed that I've never really watched, it's not gonna jazz me up a lot. So if I am, shitty throughout this podcast at all, that's the reason. I'm not trying to be a jerk. This just wasn't for me, in the sense that it literally was not something made for specifically me.
Whereas I know less about New Japan than White does, but I was super excited for this. I also like story in my wrestling, and they built some stories going into this that were pretty simple but good. I'm vaguely aware of New Japan storylines in the way I'm aware of like comic storylines for comics I never followed. And that's about all I really need. A lot of the time. I was mostly excited for this because some of the matches sounded really good, and last year we didn't watch it, and we missed out on a really, according to basically everyone, one of the best matches of AEW that year. So I was excited to see some really good wrestling, because, that's nice to have, because if I wanted good story like very groundbreaking, dramatic storytelling and didn't give a shit about wrestling, I'd be watching WWE.
Why?
The Bloodline storyline is, by all accounts, by everyone who's watching it, one of the best wrestling storylines in at least a decade, possibly much longer, but it is still WWE wrestling, so no.
Yeah, and it's about Roman Reigns, so who can care?
But, like, if I just wanted good, dramatic storytelling, I'd be watching WWE.
Also, if you were watching that, you'd have to listen to Paul Heyman say, "My tribal chief!"
That doesn't bother me
8 times.
at all. It doesn't bother
will.
me. It doesn't bother me.
You will.
I've watched dozens of those promos. It really doesn't.
Oh. You have a stamina that I cannot muster.
But that's mostly just to serve as a counterpoint, because ultimately, ideally, wrestling's going to be a balance, right?
Yes.
Between the two. But if I have to choose one, it's going to be wrestling, not story. If I can only get one of the two out of my event, it's going to be the wrestling.
And that's a fair point. And I think another issue I have here is that my favorite style of wrestling is basically not ever going to be represented at these shows.
No, because your favorite style of wrestling is lucha libre.
And none of the luchadors are allowed here.
Yeah.
Because of
ancient
gang feuds.
Because of a literal gang feud. So it's just not going to be a thing that happens.
Nope.
But I was excited for the wrestling. I was excited for what stories were here. And it seemed like it would be a fun show. And I mostly, not entirely, but mostly was right about the wrestling being good. And I believe, partially because another member of the Discord, fun fact about the Discord, we do little predictions before pay-per-views. One of the members of the Discord typed out their prediction, and I went, yes, that's exactly what I was going to type. Great, co-signed. And we were right. I believe the whole up down the card. Did we even get the main event wrong?
I'm not sure. Vamp, I'll check. Vamp.
I don't think that's necessary.
It's necessary. I'll look real fast. Talk about how much you love Japan.
We'll start with the top of the card. There was a pre-show. We did watch that because AEW does good pre-shows, so we watch them. This is going to take you so much scrolling. We live tweeted this whole event.
That's fine, man. I don't have a whole lot to say. You know what? I'm sad I didn't get to see filthy Tom Lawler.
Yeah.
He was in a dark match against Serpentico since Adam Cole exploded.
Adam Cole is ill in some fashion. Hope he's well as soon as possible. I hope it's nothing serious. But Tom Lawler got bumped off the card. He still got to wrestle a dark match, so that's nice.
Yeah, he still got some money.
Still got some money. Still got his, still got paid. But the first match that we saw was Chaos and El Desperado versus Mogul Embassy. Specifically, Swerve, Brian Cage, Bishop Khan, and I believe, how do you pronounce that? Toa
Leona, yeah.
Yeah. Leona, or is it Leona? I can't remember.
I don't know. I think that's like an accent thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was fun. It wasn't, it was a pre-show match. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of fun stuff. Chaos is fun. As always, Trent Beretta is better when Rocky Romero is around. He's trying harder when Rocky Romero is around.
Yeah,
it's like a visible difference in how well he wrestles.
I was actually sad because Chucky T blew a spot, not Trent Beretta.
You know what? We were wrong about...
Twice.
Yeah, we were wrong a couple times. All right. That's fine. That's good.
Yeah, it's good when wrestling surprises you. Not for no reason, but it is good when that happens.
But most of this card was pretty easy to predict.
Sure. That didn't help my enthusiasm.
Whereas, like, for crossover shows, a lot of the time it is going to be that way. If there's a title match, it's not going to change hands. It's just not. Like, that's just not going to be a thing.
Right.
But if it is, that's an absurd surprise. But I think this match was good.
I wasn't paying that much attention during this one. I was finishing up some very important work that was definitely not a Tony Schiavone emote that you can use if you go to our Discord.
He definitely wasn't busy making a Tony Schiavone emote that one of the people in the Discord requested. But
yeah, that one too.
But ultimately, Mogul Embassy takes it, and that's good. I like Chaos, but the Mogul Embassy desperately needs some
Well, now we don't watch Ring of Honor, so
Swing.
maybe they kick ass over there. But
Well, that's fair. That's a different Fed.
yeah.
They might be owned by the same guy, but they very much, ever since they got their own show and their own network and their own little, dropout TV, Netflix you can pay for, they treat Ring of Honor as its own separate program with its own canon and shit.
Yeah, they crossover. They cross it over about the same way they used to cross over with Impact.
Which is absolutely fine. I like that. I wish I got to see more Ring of Honor, but I could easily buy Honor Club. That'd be fine. I am at the maximum amount of wrestling I can watch in a week.
This is the first wrestling podcast. Indeed, I believe the first podcast we've recorded since Collision was a thing.
Yes. We can talk about that when its main star shows up on the card. How about that?
That sounds fine.
Sounds great. But next match on the pre-show, they managed to fit, was it 3 matches on the pre-show?
4.
4. Wow. Was Athena versus Billy Starks. This one wasn't such of a much for me.
It was okay. I was glad to see Billy Starks wrestling.
Someone pointed out that if she wrestles until she's Sting's age, it will be 2069. And so I won't be seeing that. I'm gonna die before 2069.
You might still be kicking. It's possible.
Unlikely.
But possible.
But it's nice to see what genuinely is like the next generation to me. Like
sure.
The I am a fully grown adult, and there are new kids starting wrestling, and they're already real good.
Yeah.
Like this and Hook and a bunch of the people who are real young in AEW, they're going to be big in a couple years, and it's fun to see them getting their start. Athena was fine. Athena was good. I like heel Athena. I feel like I would like her. I would like Athena currently a lot more if I did watch Ring of Honor, because I'm sure she's doing great stuff over there.
She's missing part of the presentation. This was also a first-round match in the Women's Owen Hart Invitational Memorial Tournament Cup.
Calm down there, Kevin. I'm sure you can get it right if you keep trying.
I missed Andretti El Idioto.
So is now a good time to talk about the commentary? You know what? We have to, because it changed after the pre-show, and I need to say this. I was distracted for much of this match because I was busy scouring the internet for the origins of one of the commentators on the pre-show. I forget his name, Chris something. I spent 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out where this fucker was from, and I couldn't. I couldn't find it on the internet. If you're within the sound of my voice and you know where the commentator on the pre-show for this, on the buy-in.
The Bowtie Man.
The Bowtie Man. His name's Chris. I've forgotten his last name. My apologies, because you're going to have to fucking Google it, because it's hard to find even on Google. If you know where this dude is from, I will be so thankful to you for telling me, because his accent is both incredibly inconsistent in that it changes into a different accent every 4 words, and fucking incomprehensible in the most annoying way possible.
If you've been with us since the Blip days, and you haven't, you may remember we had frustrations with Wade Barrett's promos because his accent kept warping and changing. I don't know what that was. He stopped doing it.
I don't know what's happening with this dude's mouth that causes him to have a different accent every 4 words, but
that's my taxi car.
Yeah, he's an alien. He's an alien. Don't get water on him, he'll screech. It was incomprehensible, and it drove me fucking batty. He disappeared once the pre-show was over, and it made my night much. I genuinely may have disliked the show if this fucker had been here all night.
Kevin Kelly didn't help.
No, Kevin Kelly didn't help, but Kevin Kelly is his own beast. This guy disappeared once the pre-show was over, and I was very happy. Athena wins, by the way.
Yeah, which I didn't agree with. I mean, you've got a tournament here. Athena's already champ. Give Billy Starks the up.
I think the only reason you have Athena win here is if she's winning the tournament, and I don't think she is. So yeah. I agree. I don't think that's the right call. But, I mean, it was obviously the call they were going to make, so.
Yeah.
Next one was
Stu Grayson and El Phantasmo. Still a dark match. Or still a pre-show match, rather. Now that we actually have a dark match. I was glad for this. First of all, to meet Stu Grayson's new strange friends.
And Stu Grayson getting, he left the Dark Order and he's with some new guys now. Good for him.
And they're strange. And El Phantasmo I've been bitter at for years because I had been keeping that in my back pocket as a name for a wrestler. A, because it sounds awesome. B, because it's a reference to a White Zombie song, El Phantasmo and the Chicken Run Blastorama. So I was just a little bitter. I assumed he was just some guy using the name for, the ghost. No, it is entirely a White Zombie reference.
They name checked 3 of his moves during the match, and they were all Rob Zombie or White Zombie song names.
Thunderkiss 86, which is the 86 part is important, right? Because Thunderkiss 65 is titled so because Rob was born in 1965. This guy was born in 1986, so he's not just ripping the name; he gets it.
So I think we have a new El Phantasmo Mark in the building.
Well, I don't know about Mark. He was okay.
No. If someone does that many Rob Zombie references, you're gonna watch him. He's also a luchador. You're a fan of his.
He has my attention.
I'm pre-selecting this. I call this. I am pointing towards the outfield.
I feel like that's an entirely reasonable conclusion. It's not there yet.
Then the last pre-show match of the entire wrestling show card that they stuffed into 1 hour pre-show match. The buy-in was stacked. The buy-in was a good wrestling event.
They usually have interviews and shit.
One match, maybe. Yeah. This was a whole card of 7-minute just in and out fucking don't waste time little matches. And notably, none of the matches on the main card were less than 10 minutes. So this is where they put all of those. It was Los Ingobernables de Japan, not to be confused with La Facción Ingobernables, or La Ingobernables, or Los Ingobernables, who are all on this fucking card! That's not true. La Facción Ingobernables weren't because they're luchadors.
Yeah, they're not allowed. Yeah.
This is not a good enough name. Become Ungovernable is not a good enough meme to have 5 fucking factions, all of them have the same name. No. One of y'all needs to be renamed at minimum.
I feel like there's another, I feel like the faction started in AAA as well, so.
No. No, it's not like it's different branches. It's not like it's Bullet Club, where they're all one big faction, ultimately. This is like if there was a D-Generation X, a D-Generation X fucking...
Austria.
No, because that's a different branch. A D-Generation X Spirit Airlines edition, a D-Generation Y, a D-Generation X7, and all of them are completely unrelated and they just really like the name. No.
You have a lot more vitriol for this than I was anticipating.
Because it took me... it's impossible to keep them straight. Because I don't know any of these people. And, it's not that good a name.
I mean, it's a clumsy word. I'll agree with you on that point. I only remembered the 2 that were floated under our radar. We don't really watch much Lucha Libre, but... regardless, I liked the team.
Yeah, they were fine. It's just the name bothers me.
Yeah, I'm in the weeds here on David S. Pumpkins. Usually if there's something that one of us takes umbrage with during the show, we bring it up during the show at least once. I am the end of Mean Girls right now. The United Empire was the other team. Jeff Cobb, Kyle Fletcher, and TJP. Who
I didn't recognize at all, by the way. Shout out to TJP. You don't look different. I'm just bad, I guess, because wow, I had no idea who that was. You clocked him, and then the announcers went, "Yeah, it's TJP," and I went, "Okay." Still good, still great, by the way.
Yeah, I like that match a lot, actually. And that was mostly New Japan stars, basically entirely. So, good job, New Japan. You put on a match I liked.
Yeah, it was also really fun, really good. Didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
I believe the Ungovernables Japan edition won.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine.
Over here, hit by a bus, my guy. It was potent. It was. Anyway, the main card we move into now. And believe it or not, Hiroshi Tanahashi beat MJF for the title.
Definitely happened.
Yeah, it was a real thing.
Obviously, MJF won. MJF versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, however, was really fun.
Yeah, we saw him on Collision, and I didn't realize how old he was.
He told us on Collision by wrestling a very bad match with Swerve Strickland.
They did not cater to his style and his age. You know, a reason guys like Sting and, begrudgingly, Jeff Jarrett look as decent as they do in the ring is that everybody else in the ring is holding them up to what they're capable of doing.
It's just about playing with the instruments you have,
yes.
Right? Hiroshi Tanahashi, I'm sure 15 years ago, could have wrestled a Swerve Strickland match and blown Swerve out of the water. I'm sure. He's regarded as, one of the all-time greats. That's fine. He's nearing 50. So he can't wrestle a Swerve Strickland match anymore. That's just not a thing he gets to do. And when he tries, he looks like a fucking goon. It makes him look like a jobber. Don't do that to the poor man. Showcase him in a way that benefits his aura, his mystique. This old lion from Japan who has this long storied history behind him. He should be wrestling like Sting does now, or like any of the old wrestlers who have gauged such wrestling power level that they're just allowed to be anime protagonists.
I mean, look at Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Treat him like Minoru Suzuki. Treat him like he's somehow just a tougher breed of human, stronger and better, if slower because of the weight of his years. And then this match happened, and they did that, and it was fucking excellent.
Yeah, they really wrestled more of a strong style match. It was more about the showboating. It reminded me of like 80s one-on-one wrestling. Very classic face, classic heel. MJF got his victory through chicanery, and he's learning. He learned that he has to distract Bryce Remsburg because that man has a sixth sense about the Dynamite Diamond Ring.
You know what I love is that's ongoing storytelling, because every time Bryce referees an MJF match, he gets better at countering MJF shit. Bryce Remsburg, of all people, referees in this federation are characters who learn and grow. He gets better at countering MJF every time, and it seemingly has become his job to referee all the MJF matches because he's on to MJF shit, which is a dynamic I love.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Oh, that's fine. I'm just kind of shepherding here. Moving on to another men's Owen Hart Cup motivational, invitational, elevational tournament.
Memorial also.
Yeah, sure.
This was Satoshi Kojima versus CM Punk. And let's talk about Phil.
Can I talk about Satoshi first?
Well, that's going to be more positive, so sure.
I like him.
He's good.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I think he put on a good show here. A couple of moves didn't quite go to plan, but that might have been Twigman Phil. So
Twigman Phil, or the fact that Kojima is also old as fuck.
Sure. Still, he wrestled a good match. He had a good aura about him, and I just wanted to compliment that before we got on to something more distracting.
Muffin Man.
The Pepsi Kid.
Phil from Chicago. Longtime listener. Many times caller. I won't shut the fuck up. So, Phil's back. This is our first AEW focused show since Phil went away. He got himself a whole show that he's basically booking. And he's in charge of, and he's the king, and he gets to walk around with a big Burger King crown, and everyone has to go, "Oh, Phil, you're so cool, and your muscles are big, and you would have won that UFC match if the sun wasn't in your eyes." Presumably.
I've heard other stories now. This is the thing that drives me nuts about Punk in particular. Is like, it seems like the rest of the wrestling world, you hear something, and it's either immediately dismissed as false, or it is, accepted as truth. With Phil, there are 9 stories from 4 perspectives. Always. The man can't go take a piss without 8 other people trying to tell you that something else happened.
Well, because he's the controversial wrestling figure.
Sure.
And he has been for more than a decade.
Even when he wasn't wrestling for a good 7 years there. But I have also heard that Pepsi Phillip is just being a company guy, towing the line, and doing whatever TK says.
I will believe that. Never. That's just not in line with any of the behavior I've seen from Philip Punkerton ever. I believe there was a brief moment in time where he worked me, I'm a man enough to admit that, into believing that he may have grown and changed as a person. No. Having said that, I like CM Punk as a character. I know he's going to win me over. I know he is. He's one of the best promos to ever do the job. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Even now, when he has definitely lost several steps. I know he's going to win me over. But there's not really a world where I believe Phillip Brooks isn't a dickhead anymore.
Sure. Yeah. I really expected him to come back on Collision and win me over first promo. Instead, he cut probably the worst CM Punk promo I've ever heard.
Yeah, intentionally, seemingly.
Perhaps.
Like, it was intentionally seemed to be a bad promo for the sake of pissing off Smarks. Like, even to the point of being a detriment to his character, he just really wanted everyone on the internet to know that he's cooler and better than them. And he's not upset at all. He's super cool. Anyway, I got some stuff to go do. I'm great. It's
And yet, no Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, and yet no Szechuan sauce. Now, to be fair, that might be a work. That might fully be a work intended to get that heat, to get that noise, because he's clearly courting sort of a, very much a Roman Reigns 2016, I'm not the bad guy, I'm not the good guy, I'm the guy sort of energy. I mean that with everything it implies, by the way.
And it is with me specifically kind of rough, because I don't want to see somebody get their ass kicked. Like, I don't know if I've just been smartened up for too long or what the deal is, but like, if you're a jackass on TV, I'm not sitting there seething for you to get your comeuppance. I recognize that's a good storytelling beat. I appreciate it for what it is, but like, I'm not going to buy a pay-per-view because I think that CM Punk might lose a match.
Well, no, because he's going to make a lot of money, and I don't know if you guys know this, wrestling's a work. So if I want to watch CM Punk get his ass kicked, that's on YouTube. I can watch it anytime.
Moving along, the only other thing to really talk about with Collision, it's been kind of a show so far. It's been okay.
It's been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
CM Punk is apparently a very apt booker. Good for him.
Or he's listening to everything TK says, whatever you want to believe.
Yeah, that's absolutely possible. It's possible that TK made an entire another wrestling show where he's booking very differently and making very different storytelling decisions that don't really seem like him. As like a goof? Punk wins, by the way. There's a fun little moment where he references a CM Punk interview from 2005 during the match. That was fun.
I thought this match was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't anything special, but it wasn't terrible, and CM Punk will win me over. I'm making my peace with that now, because he's gonna do it.
I am tapping my watch and waiting for clobbering time. It has not yet arrived.
Yeah, basically.
Right, the other thing I hate about Collision is Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, you know what? Now's a good time to talk about Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly, a lot of you seem to really love Kevin Kelly. I've seen a lot of scuttlebutt on the internet, and even people in our Discord, who, I guess the only word I can use fairly is simp for Kevin Kelly, and talk about how he is just the light of New Japan, the best commentator ever, he makes everything better. No, he's fucking terrible. He's really bad. He's genuinely worse than Mike Adamle.
Oh, I would know. Well,
Mike Adamle never sang the alphabet at me.
Yeah, I guess that is true. Sometimes Kevin Kelly says shit that is so non sequitur, I am concerned for his health.
Or Or he'll say shit that would be good commentary if anyone else were doing it, but he manages to fucking fumble that bag, even if it's the simplest shit in the world. A great example, at one point during the show, he starts a thought with, earlier, this particular wrestler did a drop kick. That is the beginning of a sentence, Kevin. You then have to explain why you're re-bringing it up and how it ties into the story of the match. You know, your fucking job. And then that sentence is over now. And Kevin Kelly has moved on from it.
Never returned. Just awkward silence for a solid 30 seconds.
Well, everyone lets him try and finish it.
And he just never got there.
He's just over there fucking putting the triangle block into the square hole over and over. He just can't get it together. So poor put upon Nigel has to try and fucking huck this over the finish line.
Poor Nigel's still e-pilled.
He'll do it all the time. He'll be like, superstars this. And
yeah. And he does that thing where he jabbers for no reason.
Because he just can't. If I'm quiet, Vince will come hit me.
Right. His first episode, Nigel was a lot better, and I think Nigel's overall a pretty good commentator. I don't know if they've turned his mic up or what, but he's super audible, and that's great. He's solid. Kevin has enthusiasm. I'm trying to be nice here. And when he is good, I think he is incredibly similar to Excalibur, with maybe a slightly more soothing voice to people who don't mind nasal voices.
That must, perforce, include you. You've been friends with me since 2007.
Your voice is not as nasal as Kevin Kelly, my friend.
Wow. That's a compliment from me.
Kevin Kelly is those things, those instruments Jack Black plays for a bit. That's what the man's natural speaking voice sounds like. And I will never take his enthusiasm away from him. He's really happy to be there.
At his best, Excalibur, I actually think it is different. Excalibur comes across as very professional at his best. Or sassy if he's having himself a real one. Kevin Kelly at his best is a kid watching wrestling.
Yeah.
With all of the enthusiasm and joy for everything that's going on around him. He hates the bad guys and he loves the good guys, and he's just a simple child. He's a child. And that's him at his best.
Swearing bothers him.
And when someone swears, he goes, "Oh, they said a bad word." And it's endearing when he's doing a good job. But the problem is, he's usually not.
I would compare him to Michael Cole.
I would compare him in all ways. I would compare him unfavorably to Michael Cole.
No, I mean, even the good ways. When Michael Cole says good shit, he says good shit. When he reacts well, he reacts well. That's not usually the case. But I don't want to belabor the point. We've been talking about a commentator for the last however long. What was your favorite episode of the Two Nerds podcast? Let's move on to what was my favorite match of the night. I don't think it was the best match of the night, but it was my favorite.
That's good, because it wasn't.
I just cared about it more. Zack Sabre Jr., Katsuyori Shibata, Daniel Garcia, and Orange Cassidy in a four-way match for the AEW International Championship. 11 minutes, 15 seconds of some really high-quality wrestling and sexy dancing.
Yeah, this was a great match. 11 minutes, really? That is not as long as that match feels. They packed a lot of match into 11 minutes.
To clarify what you were saying there, it felt long because there was so much going on. Yeah, so good.
That's a compliment.
Yeah.
They packed a lot of wrestling. That match absolutely felt much longer than that in a very good way. Great job.
Yeah. Orange Cassidy got a sneak pin on Daniel Garcia, and thus the three guys with title belts met in the middle of the ring and were like, "Hey, did you want to fight about these?"
And hopefully they will.
I would love that.
Zack Sabre Jr. fucking rules.
I will say this, and I know there are extenuating circumstances. Zack Sabre Jr. wrestled Bryan Danielson's match better than Bryan Danielson.
There were extenuating circumstances to that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that would have been the case.
I've also seen Bryan Danielson wrestle other matches, though.
That's fair.
Like, I'll take MJF versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Oh, MJF versus Zack Sabre Jr. That's a dream match for me.
Ooh.
That is peak storytelling ability versus peak stretching ability.
This is around the point in the card where things started to go
away.
Yeah. So Jack Perry decided he wanted Sonata's IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know how I haven't heard of Sonata as much wrestling news as I watch.
Apparently, that's actually a thing in Japan. A lot of Japanese fans feel he's not big enough for the title. He's not ready.
So this is kind of like when Jinder Mahal won the title kind of thing?
More like a Guns situation.
Oh, so he's incredibly talented and we should really be paying attention to him.
Look, I don't know. I don't watch the guy. But that's just... I got some internet reporting about Japanese fan reactions to Forbidden Door. One of the things they were really mad about is that their title didn't go on last. Because they're wrestling marks at the end of the day. They're all the same everywhere.
I mean, our title went on first.
They're marks at the end of the day. They're all the same everywhere.
Okay, all right.
My team good, your team bad.
I guess.
But that was one of the other things they mentioned that I saw. Jack Perry accepted a challenge for the New Japan World Championship, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. It kind of seems like me accepting a challenge for like an eating competition. I'm a big fat guy. I could eat. He's a good wrestler. He can wrestle. I'm not in the upper tier of eating competition people. That's a different class of human. Jungle Boy was not going to fucking win this match.
No. And to that sense, it didn't overstay its welcome. Shortest match on the main card, I believe. Oh, by 15 seconds it was longer, excuse me.
Still over 10 minutes, just barely. Jungle Boy got his ass beat. It did not at any point seem like he was going to win that match.
No.
But there was a reason for that. It wasn't just to put over the IWGP World title. It was to tell a story, which is always nice. Jungle Boy Jack Perry had brought Hook with him to ringside to like be in his corner and support him. And Hook, notably talkative fella, had agreed. This is all about making friends. That Hook. After the match, Jack Perry, overcome, I guess, with frustration at losing another world title match so soon, decided to sucker punch Hook, and we will presumably be getting heel Jungle Boy soon. We can say goodbye to his wonderful theme song. He may cut his hair. I hope he cuts his hair. It's glorious hair. Or I guess he could just wear it in a ponytail. He just needs something to visually make himself distinct from face Jungle Boy. Hat. I'll take a hat.
Tall top hat.
Yeah, perfect.
Now he's Money Boy Jack Perry. He's rich, and everyone hates the rich.
That's true.
Tony Khan doesn't understand the gimmick, keeps trying to turn him face.
What? People like rich people.
I'm a rich person, and people like, do you guys like me?
Hug.
You guys
Let's
like me,
hug.
right? Yeah, let's hug it out. Yeah. Yeah, this is right. Okay, face again. So I'm of two minds about this. I wouldn't have done this now. I understand that there's internet talk about this, but this was not the time.
The time to turn Jungle Boy heel was about a month ago. You missed the boat.
I feel like we had like 4 real good gates and perfect
That was
timing.
the last stop on the bus.
That was the last stop, and then you were like, and go.
You missed it. Sorry. I agree that Jack needed something about his gimmick to change because he was floundering, lost, directionless. But I don't know that a heel turn was the right call. I am, however, here for it. Absolutely happy to see it happen. I'm looking forward to what they do. It's possible Jungle Boy will be an amazing heel. There's a lot of guys who don't do a good face promo who, if you let them be like a dickhead, they're great.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's, for Jack's sake, I hope it's him. I hope he's that guy.
I love that. And I don't hate the idea of another mid-card heel. We don't have a lot of believable mid-card heels right now that aren't also in ROH. Or a tag team or a stable. Like, we got plenty of those, but they're doing other stuff.
This is basically, we need a new Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks became a face. We need a new one.
Yeah. It is what it is. The promo afterward is a part I really liked. And I say promo, by which I mean the fans chanted obscenities. Kevin Kelly was distraught. Taz is going to go eat that man.
Taz is restraining himself from eating that man because he doesn't want to steal his son's food.
He left the commentary desk after that, and I thought that was another really, really good.
Yeah, that's good. In a lesser federation like the WWE, he would have been like, I'm upset, but continuing on with the show. No, you let Taz leave. You let Taz be so fucking pissed by this turn of events that he just bounces, and they have to get Tony Khan to replace him. I love that.
Yeah. Shivani.
Or Tony Schiavone, not Tony Khan. Jesus.
That would have been
cocaine.
Yeah,
cocaine and a blink to be had.
So our next contest was the big 10-man tag team match. I was looking forward to this provisionally, and I forgot the rule of too many cooks.
A lot of shit happened in this match.
It was 21 minutes long.
That
match did not feel 21 minutes long.
No, this match was 21 minutes and felt like it was 11 minutes. This match, a lot happened in this match. This was perhaps the most wrestling match on the card.
Yeah. I would like to go over all of it. I can't remember half of it. There are 2 things that stood out to me as being really important. 3, 4. Konosuke Takeshita kicked Tomohiro Ishii in the head so fucking hard that he died. I don't know if that was selling or if the man was knocked out for a little while. Either way, incredible. Tomohiro Ishii, I love him. He can be around.
The Stone Pitbull is great.
He's great. Eddie Kingston, still so conflicted about fighting Moxley, he pushed him out of the way of a super kick at one point and took it himself.
And then got mad that they were super kicking his friend Moxley, who they're in a match against and famously hate.
God, the second his gimmick was relayed to me, all was made clear, and I am so able to love every ounce of this.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to our early AEW stuff, we did not like Eddie Kingston because we didn't get it. Then someone explained Eddie Kingston's gimmick to us, and Eddie Kingston, and having had that explanation, we understood. Eddie Kingston is so fucking good.
It's just incredible. The fourth weird thing is Mox didn't bleed.
Yeah, 21-minute match, and Mox didn't manage to blade at any point. I feel like maybe someone took all his razors away.
Yeah, or something. Or there wasn't time for it, even though they lost a whole match and had so much more time to make up. A lot of cool stuff happened. It was probably the best spot fest of the night. Unfortunately, it wasn't much more than that.
I didn't feel like there was a lot of... I mean, there was one story throughout this match, which was... Tomohiro Ishii exists to get his ass beat by every single member of the opposite team and then just sort of look at them and go, and?
He was the one who picked up the win. So...
Yeah, he got his ass beat the whole match and then won. Which is good, because he's the odd man out on that team. So showcasing him is much better than him fading into the background and you end up with a, why was he here?
Yeah. Speaking of odd man out, Shota Umino did not realize that he was not a face.
He was not told. No one informed him he was in the heel team until partway through their entrance.
That was the other thing. Speaking of the entrance, they had new music, and I hope this is the new Blackpool Combat Club music.
Yeah, I hope this isn't a one-off. When John is coming out on his own, he may keep Wild Thing. It is fire wrestling music. But the Blackpool Combat Club having a much more slow-paced heel theme song is better. Because if you want them to get boos, you can't make their entrance a fucking party. It's one of the reasons you have trouble keeping Jericho heel.
I don't know that Jericho has any trouble being heel. He's just celebrated. He's been around long enough that they're like, yay, it's that old guy I like. And then he's like, shut up, I hate you. And you're like, Uncle said something racist again.
He keeps having to, like, reestablish.
Sure.
Like, occasionally he'll shut the music off early, so they'll boo that.
See, I feel like that just gives him ammunition.
More tools in his
tool.
Well, in that way, then, Mox isn't as good as Jericho. He can't do that.
No.
You gotta give the fans some psychological prep work to get them in the right headspace.
Claudio is in a constant state of going, I am a heel, I am a heel, I am a heel, I am a heel.
You a mean mug at the camera, you are a bad guy. You don't just want coffee and good times.
Good hugging Uter.
Imagine every one of them as a beach ball.
Yeah, there was a lot to enjoy about this. I sound like I'm downplaying it. I'm not. It's just hard to talk about.
It's a car crash of a match. Fun times.
Yeah.
The Elite win, which, I was hoping for, but was surprised happened.
Women's title match is next. Willow Nightingale with her title not on the line against Toni Storm with her title on the line.
So, Toni Storm wins.
Yeah. It was good. There was some psychology to it. It felt pretty similar to MJF versus Hiroshi Tanahashi in, logic, in, style. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. It was a good contest, though. I wouldn't have called it the piss break match. I enjoyed it.
No, the piss break match is later.
I mean, the show ends with the next match. I don't know what you're talking about.
Fun game for those playing the home game. We spent a lot of this match trying to figure out which Batman villains all the members of the Outcasts were. You assign them yourself. Watch the show. I think you'll get what we're talking about.
Yeah. Main event time. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship, owned and operated by Kenworth Omega.
A 5-star match. For me, I don't know about Melts. For me, 5 stars.
I thought it was really good. My heart wasn't in it, and the ending was fucking stupid.
The ending was stupid. You know what? 4.5. Entirely because of how stupid the ending was. This, aside from that dumbass ending, this match was bang on. It is hard to find anything that you can improve in this match, except for the one thing that was so stupid, it genuinely tamped down my enthusiasm for the match for a while after it.
This match was almost 40 minutes, and it felt like 40 minutes in the right way. This was, when I was younger, and I got a little bit into Japanese wrestling, and we're talking about in my teens, there were several matches that I saw and I loved. I love the Japanese style of building matches that was popular at the time. You start slow, you build and you build and you build, and you go through a bunch of crazy spots, and it just starts out with some fighting and some brawling and some light wrestling until you start exploding, and everything that happens is oh my god, what are they going to do to each other next? It's the version of the WWE's Finisher-O-Rama.
But good.
But good, yes.
I heard this style of Japanese wrestling pacing described as a train. The locomotive starts slow, and it doesn't accelerate very fast, but eventually it is a runway locomotive, and the track is ending, and there's a canyon, and what's going to happen?
Yeah, it gets really exciting, and it really, masters of their craft can weave this to keep the fans on their feet, and I think both of these guys did that here. Even if my buy-in wasn't huge, it was excellent.
The Don Callis thing was stupid. Don Callis being ejected from the match, fine. Don Callis coming back after being ejected, and there not being any consequences to that, bad storytelling. I understand you're not going to end this match on suddenly the ref decides, no, I told you to leave and you came back, I'm disqualifying your guy. That's not going to be a thing you're going to do. You know how you avoid doing that? You don't do that. You don't eject him in the first place, if that's going to be the thing. If you want to eject him, you have him stay the fuck gone, and you have one of the replaceable security mooks you literally introduced during the match to do nothing with, do the thing he was going to do. And then you can have Don Callis, promo about how, the referee may have ejected me, but Don always had a plan. And Don can use it to get himself over next week. If you wanted to do that spot with the screwdriver, that's fine too. By having him be ejected, come back, and there be no consequences for it, all you have done is harm the fiction of the wrestling universe. You have made your product less believable. And to do so during what is objectively one of the best matches I've seen this year is extra annoying. If this was some bullshit-ass match on Dynamite or on, Rampage, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, yeah, it was dumb, but whatever. But this happened during this match. This otherwise 5-star classic. It bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to the level of, but it is similar to the reason that both of us are frustrated with Rise of Skywalker. This was great. It could have been perfect. You elected at several turns to not make it so.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Keep it on rolling because long podcast is long. We should say that Will Ospreay won because of the cheating. He is now your IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion.
No, the funny thing is, he didn't win because of the cheating. Kenny kicked out from that, and then they wrestled for like 5 more minutes, and Will Ospreay won another way.
The cheating probably helped. I
Yeah,
mean,
it probably helped. But like,
in kayfabe, a man taking a screwdriver to the dome is like, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's just it makes the Dawn thing worse in that it wasn't the finish.
Look, okay, so maybe the Halfling Bard had a clutch of vicious mockery to seal the deal, but when the Barbarian crit for like 9,000 damage earlier, that was most of it. That was most of it.
I could talk about this match for a long time. I'm not gonna watch it. It's great.
Yeah, if you care at all about either of these guys, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is your piss break match, unfortunately. That is Les Suzuki Gods, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki, versus Sting, Darby Allin, and Tetsuya Naito. I like Naito.
Naito's great.
Yeah. I like Sting, too. That goes without saying.
Of course, it's
and
Sting.
Darby, and I like Jericho and Sammy and Minoru Suzuki. So I was really looking forward to this match. And then everybody except for Minoru Suzuki in this match kind of fucked up.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
Like several times.
And it wasn't the worst match
Suzuki
I've ever seen.
came to do work. He showed up to work with his fucking tie on and his suitcase packed. The rest of these motherfuckers were heading for a long weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if Sammy had jet lag or something, but he kept missing steps. Jericho is what he is. He's a mixed bag in the ring these days, and that's fine.
He's a master storyteller.
Sting is ancient. And I think everything with Sting would have been better if Sammy hadn't absolutely elbowed his head off, and then Sting did not roll away from a table at the right time, so he had a whole Sammy in the gut.
During a spot where he was clearly intended to roll out of the way, and then didn't.
Props to Sting for finishing his spots.
Yeah, he still did all his work.
You saw that old man huffing and puffing, and he was like, I'm gonna do the thing. And he's wrestling again on Wednesday.
Crazy. Fully crazy. Go retire, brother. It's fine. You put up a hell of a high score.
Yeah. And they actually went over. I was a little surprised. I kind of thought that
Jericho would shenagle himself.
Yeah, or Suzuki would just be so badass you couldn't stop him.
I mean, that would have been believable, to be honest.
And that moves us into the actual main event.
Look, this match wasn't what was advertised to us. This was supposed to be the pinnacle of wrestling achievement. Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, who I have heard as much hype for as I did Kenny Omega before I ever saw him wrestle. Kenny Omega lived up to that hype. Astoundingly, impossibly. Kenny Omega, who I had heard tales of for years and years and years before I ever saw him wrestle, the first match I ever saw him wrestle, he lived up to it. It was fucking amazing.
He even fucked up in that match, but he was so charming about it that it was fine.
Yeah. Kazuchika Okada didn't. He did not. Now, it's not entirely on him. As I understand it, less than halfway into this match, Bryan Danielson broke his arm. And then just kept wrestling anyway.
Because he is insane.
Yes, that's why.
I don't know how many Rainmakers he took with a broken arm, and I'm not talking about the collision being a problem. The broken arm was the one that kept getting yanked.
And yet, here comes Speed Racer. He just kept wrestling anyway, with a broken freaking arm.
So you said this a lot during the show, and I'm trying to ping pong here because this is a two-man podcast. You brought up the analogy of the train, and the train, starting slow and rolling up and hitting that breakneck speed. This train pulled gently into the station after it hit regular train speed.
Like, it went at regular train speed for a while, then it slowed down, went into station, there was a little announcement, please mind the gap, and then it was over.
And, that was a surprise, and not necessarily an unwelcome one.
Sometimes a submission move just being like, oh yeah, no, he's really in pain, he taps. That's fun. That's a fun way to end a match unexpectedly.
But I was expecting, 20 minutes more match.
Where's the earth-shattering kaboom?
Yes, precisely. And I don't know that this was like an emergency go home. Like maybe the final spot was different, or
It
maybe
absolutely
a couple
wasn't.
More.
He broke his arm 15 minutes before the go home happened.
Sure, that's part of it. And they ended like just a couple of minutes to midnight. Like they couldn't have had
Much.
Yeah,
They couldn't have had much left to go.
So, I mean, it was fine. If the rest of the match happened, it might have been 5 stars. It was good.
Honestly, it may have been that once he broke his arm, they had to audible the rest of the match, and they just sort of, this is them doing free association jazz wrestling.
It wasn't bad. They're both 2 skilled competitors. I think Okada was really building to something. I thought they both were, but it just, for whatever reason,
didn't end up getting there. This match had no third gear, it was what I said several times on the night.
And I have to agree. Like, I mean, that's a wonderful way to put it. Hey, Kevin Kelly compliment time.
Oh, okay.
I loved, after commentary recognized that Bryan's match was broken, Kelly says that his arm is just a passenger now. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
If that is the Kevin Kelly you guys get all the time, I'd like him. Can that guy show up to work more often?
Hey, I'm happy to change my mind on people. We talked just earlier about Eddie Kingston.
You can go back and listen to all of the many times I absolutely clowned on FTR, or The Revival as they used to be known. They have changed my mind. Eddie Kingston has changed my mind. I am always looking to like wrestlers. There's no one I want to hate.
Really, nobody?
Jeff Jarrett, maybe.